All right, let's continue on then. And I'm going to bring up the github.js file. All right. And now I could probably just come in and just say import React Bootstrap from React Bootstrap, but I only want to really import the features that I'm going to need. And there's 5 of them. All right, it's a pretty big package. Not only that, just so you know, for right now we're only going to be using 1 of them. The reason I'm telling you that is when we go back and run the program, you're going to get 4 warnings for the ones we're not using yet. Does that make sense? So don't worry about that. All right, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say this is line 4 that I'm adding right now. Import. And the big one here that we're using is something that's called media. You'll see it in just a moment. Form. Let me close this because it'll make it easier for you to read then. So form. Form group. Form control. Oh, I didn't put a comma there, sorry. And button. And again, that is from React-Bootstrap. So again, I'm bringing in those 5 components. Those are all going to be used in the rendering that we're about to do. All right, just so you know that. And we're going to type quite a bit of stuff. When I say quite a bit, I'm talking about 10 or 15 lines full of stuff here. All right. So I've got that. Not a bad time to do a save because I haven't saved in a while. So I'm going to go down, and in between the render and the return, I'm going to start putting some stuff in here. All right. So again, between the render and the return, this is where I'm going to set my Bootstrap stuff, so to speak, up. And I think I've already told you that, but again, it's about 15 lines. Okay? All right. And I don't want user event. I didn't put that in. The system put that in, unfortunately. All right, so it's media. This will be the key, so this is the way I'll differentiate every user, will be based on their ID. All right, just so you are aware of that. All right, now it's going to be basically the type of information that we want to put in there. And we're going to put in their HTML URL. We're going to put in there their avatar. We're going to put in their login and their user ID. Okay, I mean, and again, if you don't like that, you could leave any of it out you wanted to leave out. You could add more, etc. All right, so. These names, like the user.id, the user HTML underscore URL, those aren't names I came up with. Those are the names when we ran that and you open it up and you looked at it inside of your console, that was the names. All right, and I just want you to understand that. All right. All right. So inside of here, we're going to have the image, and that's going to be their picture. This is going to look a little weird, but it's the way that it gets set up in here. We're going to give it a width, and it'll be 64 pixels. In fact, I'm sorry, it's in curlies. This keeps throwing me. The fact that virtually everything that you do is inside of curlies, and I'm still used to using, when I'm working with parameters like that, I'm used to using double quotes. All right, so that's the width. The height will also be equal to 64. So in other words, it's going to be a square image, 64 by 64. All right. Now, we did this with Chuck Norris' program yesterday, but I want to make sure you all realize this. That's margin right. All right, and that's something that should just make sense to you. I don't even remember what the number exactly implies, but there are a bunch of built-in ones that are in there. All right, couple more lines here. So the source is equal to, again, no. The source is equal to user.avatar underscore URL. And you know this as well as I do, that when you have an image, you should put an alt tag in there. All right. Now, just want to show you this. Don't, if you would, for just a second, just take a look up here, because this is what I put before. I put alt equal, and I put in here user image, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, except that I was given not a warning, I guess a warning message by React that says we always let them know this is an image. You putting the word image there is redundant. So I just removed it, and of course, then that went away. All right. Now, when you get done with this, remember it's a self-closing tag, but you can't just do that. You can't just do that. All right. Because notice when you do that, it expects that that's, no, we don't want that. It's a self-closing tag, so we have to put in that. All right. So we have now finished the image. All right. And next, we've got to come in here, we've got to finish the A tag. All right. And then there's a little bit more that we have to do. But let's just take a look at what's in here thus far. I'm not sure what we're getting that error. We're going to fix it in a minute. Don't worry about it. All right. Now, one thing is, we're going to take all this stuff, and basically everything that gets put in here is a user. Does that make sense to everybody? It is a user. Well, then I already warned you that I was going to miss something here or there. What we want to do is we want to be able to list all of our users. All right, so I should have put another line up here that said const, we can call it whatever we want. It's going to be our list of users, so I called it user list, equals this.state.data.map. So we're telling it to map over every user that we have, all right, equal curly brace, and I got to get rid of that ending parenthesis right there. Why? Because it's going to go at the end. So when we're all done here, that's where this is going to go, right there. Now, it looks funky, all right, so I can do that. And I'm still trying to figure out why it's giving me that error for the image, but I'm going to right now, okay? Now, I want all of you, if you would, I can't do it because of my settings with Camtasia. In fact, if you don't mind, Angie, I'll use you as a guinea pig here.
Sure.
Hit your F1 function key, please. Perfect. All right. You can all do that. Hit your F1 function key. All right? Now,
Is that supposed to be a curly brace, or is that a
this?
parentheses? Yeah, is that
Down
a
here,
parentheses?
on the bottom, that's a
Yeah,
parenthesis.
okay.
All right. So, when you hit the F1 key, it should bring up a little box that's up near the top. Type in the word format into that box. All right. No, just don't hit enter. Just type in the word format. And one of the things that should be in there, hopefully, is, I'll tell you what, hit space and type in an S. Okay, then I was wrong. All right, just leave it at format. Okay, I'll tell you what, just leave it at format and hit enter. It'll probably go away, that's okay. But I thought that I'd saved it for you, but click on File on your menu, click on File, and down at the bottom, go to Preferences, and then up near the top of that thing, go to Settings. And it's going to bring up a bunch of commonly used settings. All right, see that box is up again? All right, and you can either type in there or you can just arrow down, but there should be a thing in there if you type in Format again. All right, see how there's one that says Format on Save? If you do that, it automatically, if your stuff is all screwed up, it should automatically, if that's checked, all right, and you click the Turn On Settings, it's up above, hopefully that should fix it. Now, if you say it doesn't, well, I gave you the steps and it worked, and it should work. All right? Now, let's see if we can figure this out. So, const user list equals this state map, user, that's correct. Media, key equal user ID. And that. href equals this. Image width equals 64. ID equals 64. Class name equals 3. URL alt equals, that's all correct. So why are you giving me that? It says identifier expected. No, there isn't one. Okay, my error is right here. See this? Never close that A tag. That fixed it. Right here, on this line, I had never closed the A tag. Now it's closed. So what this should do then is eventually this should loop through, and eventually show you what I'd shown you before. In other words, it should show us all of the users and their pertinent information that we asked for. All right? Okay, so right now we've only got this spinning bubbles thing in here, all right? Which is okay, it's totally fine. But we're going to come in here and above that React loading, it doesn't matter if we put it above or below. All right, I'll put it below, that's fine. And I'm going to put in here an H3 tag, and I'm just going to call it, you can call it whatever you want, but I'm going to put in here GitHub users. Because ideally, at least, we're going to be looking at our users in here. All right? All right. And then at the bottom here, so we're not inside of anything right now. All right, we just finished the H3, but I'm going to put in here a beginning curly brace, hit enter so I get my ending curly brace. Then you want this variable right here, the user list. All right, so right there. This should now not be grayed out anymore, and that must be the same as what you put down here. What we are saying that we want in here, and of course it must be in curly braces, all right, that when you get all done, I want you to show me the list of users. Does that all make sense? All right. So what we're doing is we're looping through and we're creating it in here, and then we're telling it to display it down here. All right. Now, all fine. We're not going to run it yet, and the reason we're not going to run it yet is, remember that right now it's still set up. It is still set up for just us, and we don't want that. Does that make sense to everybody? We want to be able to put in a username. All right. So if Christopher wants to know how many Christophers there are, he's able to put that in. That kind of an idea. All right. So we're currently hard coding the user we want to see, but that doesn't have to be the way that it is. Well, hopefully you've already started to kind of in your mind figure out, it's like, okay, then what we need is something new in here. Because we're about to put in a text box that we can put in a search term for. Does that make sense? And that's where you'll put a user. All right, so let's hit a comma and let's put this in. You can call it what you want. I called it what it was, which was search term. And I set it equal originally to nothing. We're not checking for anybody. There's nothing in there when we first start. All right? Okay, but we want to be able, we're going to have to write two different routines. And believe it or not, these two routines are a total of about 7 or 8 lines total. All right? But you may or may not remember this. But when we write these routines down here, we have to do what's called bind them to what we're working with. And again, that was in the tape that we looked at. And that's one of the reasons I wanted you to look through this, all right, this series. So I'm going to say here, this dot handle change. Right now we don't have anything called handle change. We're going to write that in a minute. All right, so this dot handle change equals this dot handle change dot bind this. All right? Binding is just basically a thing where internally it's making sure everything understands everything, for lack of better words. And that's not a terrific explanation. You could say, no, it stunk. Okay, I'll live with that. But that's what we want to do. We also want to set it up that when we're going to have a form in just a minute, and when we submit that form, we're going to need a handle submit. And we do the same thing. This dot handle submit dot bind this. So we're doing the exact same thing in there. So in just a moment, when everybody is comfortable with this, all right, we're going to come down here, and at the bottom, we're going to write handle change, which literally is 3 or 4 lines long, and handle submit, which is about 5 lines long. All right? So down here, hopefully everybody has this. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to type in, doesn't matter which one you put first, but I'll put in handle change. And what we need in for handle change is E, and all E is, it's the event that we're using. It's the event that's causing this to happen. You don't have to call it E. Some books call it event, some books call it EVT, some books call it E. It doesn't matter. All right? But in this handle change, what we want to do in here is to say this dot set state search term e dot target dot value. All right, I'll let you put that in, and then we'll take a look at and talk about what it means. All right. And again, we should be able to come in here. I don't think it'd mind if we put a semicolon there. I left them off on my when I did it, but I don't think it matters one way or the other. In English, this is saying whatever we're about to put into that text box that we have not even created yet, but whatever we put in there becomes our search term. And we're saying, hey, when we first start out, we don't want anything in there. We want it to be empty, and that's what that is saying right there. And this is saying, okay, whenever we start to type something in there, a change event is going to happen. So we want to update it so that our state holds whatever we're typing in. And hopefully that makes at least a little bit of sense. All right. The other one then that we want to type in here is handle submit. And again, we want to add our event, so our E, and we're going to put that one in right underneath the other one. All right. When you click a button, remember, it tries to submit the form. Does that make sense to everybody? And almost always when it tries to submit, it's trying to send it off to someplace. We don't want that to happen. Remember that prevent default? That says that basically take whatever the default action is and make it not happen. So the first thing we want to do in here is an E dot prevent default. All right. Then this dot set state, and what we're going to do in here is, oh, I hate it when it turns that stuff on. Okay. All right. We want to say is loading, and we're going to set it to true. All right. And then after this, one more line we want to type in. This line right here, we don't need to put it in component did mount anymore. All right. So I'm going to get rid of it from here, and I'm going to put it here. And now since I've got a component did mount with nothing in it, I'm going to get rid of that because there's really no sense in having it anymore. Now, still got a problem. Anybody notice what the problem is? It's not an error, but would you agree? That's the problem. I'm still just going to get my information all the time. And if you've got you in there, you're just going to get your information all the time. We don't want that, so we don't need this anymore. We can now say this dot state dot search term. And that is going to grab whatever we put into that particular search text box. All right? We're almost done, believe it or not. Hopefully it's going to work for everybody. I mean, that's my hope at least. All right. Now, we've probably got, I don't know how many lines, 10 or 15. I want to make sure, I've got all the code here, but I want to make sure we're putting it in the right place. Okay, I think it's going to go right here, but I'm not positive if it goes there or up there, so I'm going to check on the one that I've already got working. Okay, just give me a second here. Where's it? There it is. I'm just going to copy all of this. So fortunately for me, unfortunately for you, I'm able to cheat. So all right. So this is what you're going to want to put in there. Again, I realize it's a bit of typing. Move that over one. That over one. I think it's all set now. So the return that you've got near the bottom, you've already got this stuff in there. You've got this in there already, okay? And you've got this in there already. So what you want to, and you've got this in there already. You want to put the form stuff in. So basically what you want to add at the top of that div is what's in blue. Is that okay if I leave it in blue like that so you can see everything? And again, take your time typing it, because if you screw something up, it's just not going to work. I don't think I screwed anything up on mine, but we'll find out in a minute. And I will tell you that this is not a project right here I would recommend that you put in your portfolio unless you go back in and do some major work on the CSS. Does that make sense? Same thing with the Chuck Norris. You know, and those Chuck Norris things, it's funny, I went out and looked yesterday. I was surprised at how many of them there were out there. I didn't realize that. All right? Some were probably better than what we did. Some of them probably weren't as good as what we did. I don't know. But we're going to go over all this code in just a minute. Because that is it for the code. And I'll tell you what, if for some reason when we get all done with this, there's a mistake in my code and we can't find it, then what I'll do is I'll take the one that already works and I will push that one out to GitHub so that you've got a working copy of it. All right? With what we do tomorrow, we are going to slow it down. All right? Because I thought I can give you one more of these if you want. I was going to have us do another one, but I thought let's just go on and do a one that's a little bit more meat in it, so to speak. All right? Hopefully you noticed a lot of similarities in some of the stuff that we did, and you know, it's starting to make some sense of why we did this and why we did that type of an idea. And of course, make sure when you get done, you save too. Okay? All right.
What about that bottom part down
Yeah.
there?
This, you've already got this
We're gonna
stuff.
cover that.
You already got this.
Okay, it looks slightly.
It looks a little different because I commented this out and I put this over multiple lines. Where yours is all on one line. But you've got all, and you've got this, so you've got everything.
Yeah,
The
mine's way different than
this
that.
dot state dot is loading.
Oh, okay,
thing.
okay, all right. Yeah. This is an and, which says that if it is loading, do this, otherwise it's not going to. So it's only when it's loading that it should do that. I'm glad you said that, thank you. Do I need to move it up for anybody? Does everybody got the stuff that was all up above that?
So there's one on an error on the return. Right above the form. I know, it must be a typo.
Do you have the parenthesis?
I do.
Do you have the ending parenthesis right here before this one?
Yes. This is unexpected token.
I'm not sure what it is. We can take a look at it in just a bit. Let me go back to this, and it's still running. It's not running. So npm start.
I just noticed the one you just showed us. It said list user instead of user.
Instead of user list, I may have done that.
It's
Yeah.
possible.
Yep, it very well could be. So let's see. Up here, this says list users, and up there it says user list. That they should both say user list. Thank you. Good catch. Now, I was getting this message before that said, media is not exported from React Bootstrap. All right, I got the same error before, so I'm going to show you what I did to try to fix it. All right? So I went out and literally grabbed the error. So I grabbed that, okay? Grabbed that error, and I Googled it. I know what it meant, but I had no clue as to how to fix it. All right, so I came in here and literally put in React error. Media is not exported. And I started to look through these, and I tried a bunch of them, and none of them worked. All right, until, and I got to remember which one it was now. Guy said that if it works if you roll back React Bootstrap to an earlier version. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. But before I could roll that back, I had to uninstall what I have so I could install this. So I'm going to copy that. I'll give you the line in just a second. All right. But I came back here and I said then npm uninstall React -bootstrap. So it's gone when this comes back. It's gone from package.js, or my JSON package file. So then I came back down here. Let me clear this, and I typed in npm install React-bootstrap @1.0.1 like that. And I tried the other stuff that they said. I went in and I looked at the Stack Overflow, and I must have tried a half dozen things. None of them worked. All right? So we're telling it to put in an earlier version, so it appears as though something in the new version breaks this. All right, so hit enter. Clear. Try my npm start again. Hopefully it won't give me an error now. If it does, you'll know it when I know it. Because this ain't good. There we go. Okay, so it's spinning. You can see that. Probably want to work with that because I think that's going to remain there now, and I think where I'm setting it is probably now incorrect. But I'll come in here and put in my name. So Jeff. And search. And, well, it's not printing out, it's giving me pictures, but it's not giving me the information, so I'll have to look at that too. All right? What I want to do is this right now. Because rather than me spinning my wheels and maybe confusing you, which is the last thing in the world I want to do, is I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna clear, and I'm gonna do that npx kill minus port 3000. You don't have to do this, all right? And why did I do that? Because I'm going to exit right here. I want to bring up the one that I know works, all right? And I'm going to show you everything that's in there, and you can see if by some means accidentally I gave you something incorrect. So I'm going to bring all that stuff up in just a second. Let me double check here. So I should be able to just do my npm start right here. Now, in the old one, I didn't have I went back later and put in the icon, just so you know that, so it's not here. But if I come in here now, put in Jeff, and click search, there they are. There's the login, there's the ID. All right? So, again, it's possible, quite possible, knowing me, that I put in something here that was incorrect. Now, it says here, form group is defined but never used, and form control is defined but never used. I took it out and it didn't like it, so I put it back in. All right? So, I'm going to pull up the same ones I've just shown you. So it's app.js, it's github.js, and it's index.js. So let me bring up those three files in Notepad++. So let me just go through this is the first one. Everyone should have this. All right, so if you want to check your app.js to make sure you do, everybody should have that. And it should look like this. Again, the order in which you put these things doesn't matter. All right, so if you've got them in a different order. Plus, again, we didn't do any CSS. At first I was going to give you that as an assignment, tell you to do some CSS. I'd rather have us be working on React than working on CSS. All right, so that's that one. And then the index has got this, and I guess I didn't even remove the Web Vitals. I should have, but I didn't, so I could have removed that. I didn't clean the other one up like I cleaned the one up I did for you. So that's, you don't need that, and you don't need this, etc. All right? But you do need all this. You don't need the strict mode either. It works fine without the strict mode. All right? So here's the GitHub then. So just taking it from the top, if you want to look and make sure, I'll just leave that up there for a minute, then keep pulling it down. Can I move it down?
I have a question.
Yes.
The is loading, we had it as true right there.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be false.
Oh, ours was true originally?
Yeah.
Yeah, make it false. It should be false to begin with. Yeah. So yes, if yours says true right there, make yours false. I mean, when you first bring it up, it's not loading, right? So it really should have been false. All right.
And does it matter what order those are
These
in?
two?
No.
No.
The data search
This
term.
does no.
Okay.
It's just like if you've got a JavaScript program with variables X, Y, and Z. Doesn't matter if you put them X, Y, Z, ZYX, or some variation thereof. This is just saying to initialize these three things to these three values. That's all it's saying. The order in which you do those is totally irrelevant. All right. Can I go down to here? Yes? And notice I left this in just because I wanted to remind you that it wasn't needed anymore, but you don't need it in there. I mean, putting in a blank thing like that, in fact, I may even get a warning on mine, I didn't check, to tell me that it had something in there that it didn't need. And I want you to understand too, when you look, please look on the screen here, this literally is changing the state from false that it was originally to true. This literally is copying into the search term whatever we put into that text box. This right here, the reason I'm showing you this, that setting state, this is grabbing existing state and passing it. That's why these are set state, okay? And that's why this one is not a set state, because we're not setting it. And I just want to make sure people understand that. All right? Again, you don't need this. I could have totally removed it. Sometimes when I go back, I put stuff in there because I'll put notes and stuff in there like, hey, remind people they don't need this anymore. All right? It wouldn't hurt to leave it in there, but you know, it's a routine that you're calling with nothing in it. All right? Is everybody okay up to here then? All right, then let's go down to here. Again, you can see I put comments in there. I didn't expect you to do that. All right, so I'll go back up to where this is at the top. There we go. And actually, this whole thing is the callback function, so where I've got this is the callback function, that should be right here. You don't need to do this anymore unless you want to. The console.log, again, that's just put in as a testing type of thing. So you could comment that out if you wanted to, or you could just remove it if you wanted to. I mean, it's totally your call. Does the process that we're going through, is it making at least a little bit of sense to you? And like I said, when we do this one tomorrow, I'm just going to act like we've never even done it before. We're just going to do it really, really slow. If we spend an hour or two on it tomorrow, and an hour or two on it on Thursday, and an hour or two on it on Friday, I'm totally cool with that. All right? Then your next assignment for that is going to be to clean that thing up. Okay? And, well, we'll talk about it then. I don't want to just throw too much stuff at you right now. Just so you know, too, Axios has got a put. You can use that if you want to put, literally write stuff out. We don't want to do that. We're just grabbing information. But if we wanted the ability, let's just say we had the ability to go in there and add a new user, we'd be using a put then. Does that make sense? We'd have to probably create an entire form then so the user could put in all of his or her information. All right? All right, everybody cool up to the render then if I move this down? All right. So that's the entire render section right there. Like I said, when we get all done, if you still have an error and you don't know what it is, let me know. I'll clean this up and I'll throw it out there into my GitHub repo. All right? What I'm going to try to do this weekend, I don't know if I'll get it done or not. All right? Let's just put it this way, by the end of next week, I'm going to try to rewrite this with functional components. All right? And I'm not going to, I'll show it to all of you. You know what I'm saying? But then you'll be able to show it to be able to see the difference between using the two of them. Oh wait, now you said, look, I got list. See, that's why, because I had list users, but then I thought user list sounded better. So I changed it, but I didn't. I changed it up here and I didn't change it down there. Does that make sense to everybody? Because user list sounded better to me than list users. All right. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end. It's the name you choose to call it. So, has everybody got everything through the render up to the return? All right, then here's. Now again, if you start to look at some of this stuff, notice here, when you submit the form, you're telling it to call that handle submit. Anytime that you're doing a change in here, you're telling it to call handle change. All right? So hopefully you can see where this stuff is starting to kind of sync up. All right? And I think when we do the movie one, we'll probably just have a button that we're using. So it'll be an on click that we're using, not an on change. All right? Or an on submit. When we create this movie app starting tomorrow, it's going to be really ugly. This I am going to want you to fix because I'd like each one of yours to look different. All right? That said, I'll move this down in just a second, but I do want you to understand this, that if I come in here and I write, I'm going to just, you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to put in free, Bootstrap, I could say templates, I could say themes, it doesn't matter. Notice there's Start Bootstrap. Guess what? You know that. That's the one that we used for the blog. There's another one. I know there's plenty of them out there, but there's one called bootswatch.com, and it's got a bunch of predefined themes and templates in it. Why am I telling you that? Because when we do this movie one, it's going to look bad. And I'm going to expect that you're going to either pick this or you can make your own theme, and it'll look nice. All right, but there's tons of built-in themes. All right, so let me get the rest of that out there for you. So I take it everybody's okay up to here, so that's the rest of the program right there. And again, if you called yours user list, like I did, make sure it's user list in both of them.
So I have everything you had, but it still is giving me an error above the return.
Above the return?
Yeah, so there's the return, but I'm getting an error at the semicolon, but when I take the semicolon out, I'm going to return
I don't think it'll matter, but remove the, put a space between the return and the paren, but that shouldn't matter.
Let's see here. It says an unexpected comment, but I don't know where that would be.
Well, then you would think at least it would be above that, so you've got it a comma someplace in here.
I saw.
Like I said, I'll clean this up and give me about 10 minutes, and I'll push that out there. So you can take a look at it and hopefully find where the problem is. All right. And now I'm done for the day. The only thing that I wanted to